Hey, deserving listeners, Love is Blind.
Out and I'm really, really, really feeling her. Not a lot of guys that look like us talk about stuff like this. True. To each other. Vulnerability. We got to set the example. We got to set the precedent that, it's okay.
Yeah, 2 thumbs up to that. I was noticing that on this show in really multiple seasons. There's a lot of health, a lot of rejection of toxic masculine damage to men on the show, open crying, open vulnerability. And yeah, absolutely. I would say for sure Marshall and also Kwame, he in the pods was breaking down crying in the open when he was rejected by Micah. And yeah, absolutely. Leading the way, leading by example. That's how we are going to move down the road. That's how we've gotten to where we are today, is by people taking a chance, risking being called a pussy, that kind of thing, by being healthy, by standing tall and saying, I'm not going to follow that rule anymore. It's okay to be vulnerable and cry and still be a man. Of course, it's human to be that way. It's normal.
It was tough because, I should have been spending that time with Chelsea, not with Micah. You know what I'm saying? Thank you so much, baby. I appreciate you. I feel like I wasn't as angry as I should have been. Because as soon as she started sugarcoating her words to me, I calmed down. And she's been doing that since day one.
Interesting. I mean, that is a possible, viable conceptualization. I think he was a participant in that. He wasn't just a victim of her charms. He, at least the way it looked, had clear energy towards Micah, which is understandable. Again, I think there was a fair amount of alcohol involved. So you could lose your sight of the goal sometimes, particularly in the beginning of a relationship where the commitment and the habit really hasn't set in yet. Doesn't excuse it, but it could be a factor. And maybe this is a viable story, a narrative of that I went over there and I wasn't as angry as I should have been, and then she sugarcoated Micah and got me to get off my purpose, which was to move on and be with Chelsea. So, I don't know, proof's in the pudding. We'll see what happens with him. If they move forward and they get married and they have a lot of health and moving forward, then, this was just a blip for him. Somewhat intoxicated mistake that he made where he allowed himself to live in the moment instead of thinking about the big picture. Or is he just saying this to try to counteract something that might be building inside of him? I guess we'll find out.
I didn't know you talked to him.
I did.
I must have been away for that. I saw it.
Yeah. I saw. You are a big representation of the company you keep.
Right.
She hangs out with Irina, and that's where I fucked up.
Interesting. So they called them Frick and Frack. Is that from something? Frick and Frack were a comedic ice skating duo of Swiss skaters who went to the U.S. and joined the Ice Follies show. Interesting. Frick and Frack has become an English slang term used to refer to two people so closely associated as to be indistinguishable. Oh, okay. Indistinguishable, but, it's in that direction. Anyway, so we heard that from, was it Tiffany? And then we're hearing from Kwame is you are the company that you keep, or it's a reflection on you. And Micah hangs out with Irina, and we know that they're all agreeing, they know that Irina is a problem. That's interesting.
That's it. And move the fuck on. Yeah. Thank you, baby. Thank you so much. What's up, baby?
What's up, baby?
What's up, baby?
I feel like there's weird tension with Chelsea and I.
Wait, why?
I don't know. I just feel like it's weird.
You don't know? Yeah, this is the pattern. They will be cruel and callous and hostile and unfair and there's got to be a better word. Childishly superior acting? I don't know. Anyway, and then they'll get a reaction. They'll be like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's some kind of mode that some people will go in when they're trying to be cool in school, and they will poke because they're deeply insecure, And when they get a reaction, they're like, oh, look. In fact, it's a common bullying technique where you will methodically break someone down emotionally. And then when the victim of the bullying reacts big, then you can laugh at them, and that's bullying and awful. And or you can say, look at you with your immature emotions, because you believe that you're worthless and that you are immature, and so you provoke other people to act in ways that will distract from the fact that you believe that you're worthless and immature and silly and stupid and irrelevant. So you tend to treat other people how you feel about yourself. Not always, of course, but it can be a venue of inquiry, of figuring out why someone would do this. So they've had this pattern where something will happen. Like when she said, hey, let's toast your failed proposal, he gets upset, and then they're like, why is he so salty? I mean, what's wrong with him? I don't know. And they're really doing it together. The more I see the two of them, so I'm just going to look at my conceptualization, because there's so many different ideas it has as to what's going on with two of them. But a thing that people will do, it's looking more and more like this, that when you feel insecure and you feel like you're going to be ostracized, you don't feel like you fit in, and you don't have inner resources to call upon to get you through the difficult moment, you will find some way of establishing that you have an ally. And you might, by that desperation, alienate a lot of other people. And if both people, frickin' frack, are desperate for the same thing, and they are looking for obvious camaraderie and loyalty and dedication and safety, one way to do that is to outgroup. And this is in the same direction of a cult-like behavior that I've talked about before in relation to them. That when you have a cult or a group that feels insecure about who they are and what they're up to, one of the ways to consolidate the group, particularly if you're a Machiavellian psychopathic leader, is to create this narrative, brainwash the followers into believing that they are special and they have something that's going for them, and everyone else is crazy or going to hell or wrong or stupid or unfashionable or whatever the outgroup quality is. And what that does is it pulls people together, because that's how we are as a species. When there's an outgroup, it probably served us to feel this way when we had warring tribes 200,000 years ago, or we were in an area where there was a lot of competition for resources. We want to band together to help each other, and we want to be suspicious about other people because they might take our resources or they might try to attack us in some way. So, it makes sense that we would have that bias, right? In that context, it made sense because you didn't run into a lot of other groups in all likelihood. Whereas today, we're constantly running into all sorts of groups of people, and to be suspicious about outgroups and to brainwash your in-group, so it's possible that their deep insecurity and immaturity and relational traumas are creating so much anxiety for them that they have to create this world and language. And I've seen this before with teenagers. I will be called, in the past, I don't work with teenagers or kids anymore, but in the past I would get called for occasional situations like this. This could develop into problematic behaviors like non-suicidal self-injury or drug abuse, and or rebellious behavior, defiant behavior, running away, to really make sure that there's a constant signal to each other that there's us and there's everyone else. Because for most of us, we're looking for safety and loyalty and dedication, but we're not running away from the demon that's constantly telling us that we're worthless and no one's going to love us. So we don't need constant reaffirmation that we're in a good relationship. And so we don't need to outgroup at all, really. We can be friends with someone, and we don't need to scapegoat someone else. We don't need to triangulate in that way. So it just kind of looks more and more like that. And as a side effect, it has this harm on everyone else around them. But really what they're primarily focusing on is, do you like me? Am I with you? Am I safe with you? Because you're my only hope.
What's up, baby?
What's up, baby?
What's up, baby?
I feel like there's weird tension with Chelsea and I.
Wait, why?
I don't know. I just feel like it's weird.
Okay.
I just like can't.
Even the way they talk, it just sounds like a child. The language, the vocabulary, I mean, they're pretty young, so their age group will sound like children to me, so God knows. But it just has that cadence to it, and I'm not saying it to put them down. I'm not saying it to belittle them. I'm just saying that there's so many things pointing at immaturity and arrested development that it points maybe additionally to what are teenagers and kids often worried about. They're very insecure, they're very worried, they don't feel competent, they don't feel like they're good enough to hang out with adults. And this is a pretty adult situation, and so maybe that is emerging in them, that mode. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but I don't know, it's just notable, right?
Like, they look really happy together, but like, I don't know, I just feel like maybe she was jealous. Like, I don't know, there was some stuff. Obviously you guys had a relationship too. That was pretty deep.
Kwame tonight, I can tell that he feels a little bit more reserved from me, just because I think that him and Chelsea did have like some sort of like, argument or something.
Where's Paul? He's never around in these situations. Where's Zach? I wonder if Paul and Zach are just bonding over the fact that their partners are always together. So like, well, I guess by default, you and I are together.
I can tell that he's like kind of trying to make sure that like he keeps his fiance happy, which I actually respect. But I do want to like talk to her and clear the air, because she like did know, the extent of Kwame and I's relationship previously.
Hello. Kwame, can I have a minute with Chelsea?
Okay, so under normal circumstances, I would be like, great. So she wants to clear the air, maybe apologize, clarify, look, I don't have feelings for Kwame. I love you guys. You guys are good. But given Micah's behavior, God knows what she's up to. This could just be her Machiavellian way of weaseling her way back into Kwame's life, even though she doesn't even necessarily want to be with Kwame. I don't know. And she knows that if she goes straight to Kwame, that given his vibe, he will reject her. So if she tries to talk to Chelsea, it'll seem like, oh, okay, well, maybe this will be good. And then that'll be a way to eventually get to Kwame. I mean, I don't normally think this about people. It's certainly a possible human behavior. It wouldn't be the first time this has happened, for sure. But I don't know. I want to believe that Micah is going to be a good, moral human being in this moment. Someone who is mature and caring, or at least appropriate, but God knows, let's see.
And it just went with this, is it a skirt?
Yeah. Kind of works, right?
How are you guys doing?
Good. Yeah, I just want to check in how everything's going with you guys.
It's going fine. Yesterday was,
I know, what was going on?
it was like, I didn't understand what had happened between you guys, like with your comment, and that it was like very activating for him for whatever reason.
Yeah, 2 thumbs up to her. I think for Micah, this might be helpful, but it also might be like she doesn't understand how someone can be so mature and so healthy, because Chelsea's just being honest. She's being polite, but she's not avoiding. She's not attacking. She's just telling what happened. And she's framing it in a way that is vulnerable to some extent, to someone that I'm sure she suspects is not safe to do that with. But yeah, Chelsea is a very impressive person in that way.
Yeah.
And then, I'm sure you were just joking.
Yeah, I
was like-
honestly
and I
was
was
so
like,
shocked at how
what
triggered
is-
he got from it. And I think that, like, it was, like, a misunderstanding of the severity of, like, how, like, upsetting that was.
What? Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. It's consistent, because when she dumped him, she had seemingly no regard for what was happening and how it would affect him. And she didn't see how devastated he was and how much he was crying. Most people would intuit that, but she acted like she was just informing someone that she, I don't know, like she was just swiping left on Tinder. And so it makes sense that she didn't understand why he would be so upset when she made the joke of here's to failed proposals. And that's how children are. When children are presented with adult scenarios, they don't understand the landscape. They can't relate. Okay, well, let's end there. And everyone, please take care of yourself, because you deserve it. You really do.